For now, the solo show goes away as we have a returning guest. You don't want to miss this week's episode of the Indie Ball Report podcast. Back again, episode number 224 of the Indie Ball Report podcast. I'm Nick. Got a guest kind of co-host this week. I mean, fairly regular guest at this point. Hopefully we'll continue to be regular guest in Ryan. So, hi Ryan.
The recurring question of what am I?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of directions to take that kind of a question.
There's a lot of directions. I would invite everybody to keep their answers to themselves because I, at this point, I'm pretty much maxed out on the amount of the answer to that question I can get. But man, I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, we're happy to have you back. And the thing is, we're having you on so often now that we've managed to get the pre-show discussion time down from about an hour and a half down to just like 15 or so minutes of mostly technical issues.
Mostly technical issues. Yeah, it was pretty impressive work by us this time. I don't get a free podcast out of this.
I know. See, but you didn't do anything with the last one, so that's the reason why for that.
Au contraire, my friend. Once I knew that I'd be coming on, and once we had talked about this week, I held on to see if I would be on this weekend, and then now I'm going to say right now, hey, after this, go over to Indie Ball Nation and check out the cutting room floor edition of about 40 minutes worth of stuff that was cut from the last time I was on. It is mostly unrelated garbage, and you might regret your time. So I highly suggest going and listening.
See, now that's just a beautiful plug right there. That's the kind of plugs that I aspire to, really. And honestly, I don't think it's garbage. I think it is probably the best 40 minutes of that whole episode. And that's why I gave it to you, because it is the prime cuts. That's grade A meat of this show.
Bro, I was like completely surprised. I listened back to it because I was like, kind of forget like what I said, because like that was all kind of like off the top of the head stuff. So it didn't really stick with me as like, highly, intensive research stuff. Like the topics really even stuck. And I listened to it, I was like, we covered some ground, man. We're talking like, expansion of leagues, markets that we should be in, Pecos League chaos. That was some good stuff. It was good work, Wes.
I told you it was organized chaos. That's exactly what it was. Indie Ball incarnate is what it was. It was things that shouldn't work, but it worked out, and actually it's fairly entertaining to I guess a sizable number of people relative to the topic.
We're all just trying to like walk the line between far too serious and whatever it is that Albany football team is doing.
Honestly, you could probably keep with Auburn and it would still work there. But I mean, don't talk shit about the Antonio Brown masterclass that was the Albany Empire.
For me, I was like honestly interested. I always keep an eye on whatever's all about in other sports. So like if they do well, I'm a rising tide raises all ships type of guy. So I'm hoping for that. And I was just looking. I was like, man, they're really indie balling this indie ball vibe. And then, oops, too independent. Now you're not in the league.
See, the problem was that was actually a really well-ran team. I think it won like 2 NAL titles prior to it, and then Antonio Brown killed it in about 90 days, which is honestly, in a way, is almost impressive.
It took Andy Shea 2 years in Lexington. Whoop.
Already throwing arrows. My God.
It'll probably be fine. What are the odds that happens again?
Doesn't he still own a part of the Dirty Birds?
He owns, I think, all of it.
So that would be a portion of it.
A lot of people bailed out. But hey, that's a different conversation for a different day.
But is Chuck Domino still there?
He's not.
Okay, because we're going to see in just a second a Chuck Domino playbook move, a bread and butter staple in just a second here, because we got to get into the news before we can get into the meat of independent discussion. And we're going to start in the Frontier League before we get to Chuck Domino stuff, because it really is only kind of a quasi thing, and it's really just playing off a tweet you had. So I'm going to stop stealing your stuff and instead talk about the Frontier League Hall of Fame class of 2023.
Might as well.
So one thing that's important to note about the Frontier League and their Hall of Fame requirements is that 2 players from each era, in case you're wondering what the eras are, 93 to 99, 2000 to 2010, and 2011 to 2020 are allowed in. And a player or person that was involved in an exceptional moment or was a key contributor to the league's growth is also admitted to the Hall of Fame. Now, why you wouldn't just put the moment in the Hall of Fame and do some sort of ceremony for all the persons involved in said moment at, say, the All-Star game, I don't quite know. They do. So, good for them for doing it that way.
A moment. Sorry, I followed this completely. The only thing I had disagreements with was the fact that they're like the three eras when they could have just said decades, but that's okay. So like, you say a moment?
Yes. So what I'm saying is like we'll use a Major League Baseball moment, for example. Say, instead of putting Mookie Wilson in the Hall of Fame for the ball that goes through Buckner's legs, or I guess hey, could you put Buckner in the Hall for that moment?
I don't think he'd love it.
I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. Instead of putting either party involved in the play in the Hall of Fame, you would just put the play itself in the Hall of Fame. So you would honor the play.
I guess so. I get going the direction they did, though.
I mean, like, I kind of do, but I just feel like you're going to have, like somebody that doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame get put in there for that because they had one moment where they're like, yeah, we're a guy, right?
Well, what was the example from this class on that one?
That would be John Cate, which I guess we'll start with John Cate here.
Yeah.
He is in as kind of the contributor to league growth, aka a builder, if you would. He was it says in the release, the architect of the 90s and 2000s Richmond Roosters teams that won titles in 01 and 02. I take that to mean he was the general manager of it. I don't think he owned the team. I tried to look this up. I couldn't really make heads or tails of what I was finding. He's still involved in Richmond. I think it was Indiana or Illinois baseball. Honestly, again, I should have wrote down if it was Indiana or Illinois, but it's flyover country. It's all the same. So it didn't really seem like it was a necessary thing to write down. So yeah, that is the builder from this year's class. It is John Cate.
I believe he's still involved in Indiana baseball.
It's Indiana. Okay. Because there's a noticeable difference between the two.
Shout out. That is some bold, middle of the country, smack talk from somebody who covers leagues that include the American Association.
What are they going to do? Throw corn at me?
They're going to start listening to another podcast like Indie Ball Nation, which posts episodes occasionally, mostly when you have too much stuff to post that you send to me.
Okay. So the show that posts something every 12 weeks?
That's actually not a bad pace.
Go ahead. You just do like your quarterly reviews. That's what you do. You start in January, you go to April, then like mid-season, then end of year.
What I just start putting out podcasts like Dan Carlin, just nothing for 6 months and then 5 hours on something crazy.
Honestly, that may be the play for you.
Honestly, yeah, feels like me. We'll see where things go.
Plus, you could go ahead and market it as a premium show.
I mean, yeah. That's you can do a Patreon where you pay to get the episodes. Everyone else can just enjoy my terrible Twitter account.
Is it terrible if it gets responses, if it gets engagement, if it gets the clicks that you need?
I'm always shocked what people respond to because none of it's good, but sometimes it catches.
Who knows? Sometimes it implodes on itself.
Fact.
That's why you need a Mad Catz controller. Any case, let's talk about CJ Beatty.
God.
At some point, we're going to get into submarine talk, and we're not talking about the pitch to throw underhand, but CJ Beatty is from, he played for the Washington Wild Wings from 2013 to 2014, two-time postseason All-Star. He hit 38 home runs, which isn't really that many in 216 games, but 221 hits in those 216 games is a decent amount. So I suppose that's why he's here.
Sure.
So there's that.
I just don't have the time thoughts because, put him in, sure. It's also one of those things where, I've always been weirded out with the Frontier League, Hall of Fame stuff because, I don't know, there's, multiple corners of league history and things like that. Numbers can be different things. But, he's obviously a solid hitter. 221 hits in 216 games. Don't lie.
Exactly. So, he's no Darren Kinsolving, who played for Chillicothe. I think that's how that's going to be pronounced. Again, I don't know.
Chillicothe Paints, baby. I love that. So I love the fine.
That's a great name, actually, when you get down to it.
It is.
That has just a baseball feel to it, where it's just random nouns of the team name. We need to go back to that. We don't need ghost towns. What we need is just rail cars.
Rail cars.
Or bury it just rails. The Frederick Rails.
This would fit pretty cleanly, I feel like, into the American Association.
I mean, Cleveland did get rid of their what is it? The railroad spike. It has an actual name, but that logo, they got rid of that. Which, by the way, their like railroad spike mascot, his name is Spike.
By the way, one of my takes is I think Cleveland is one of the best. I don't love Cleveland as an organization. Different conversation. Yeah. But I think they have one of the best logos out there. That little, like, that train running around the panhandle, I think it's super clean looking. I think it's a good vibe.
The jersey seemed a little plain to me.
I do love how, like, every Texas team is just like, here's Texas, and that's the logo. Like, all right.
And the thing is, it works, so I don't blame them for doing it, but it is a little unoriginal at a certain point.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was a little pandery. But in any case, yeah, so Darren Kinsolving from the Paints there, 2000-2003, a postseason All-Star appearance. I don't have anything else written down for him because that one was a struggle to get written down and done. That's unrelated, though. So he's there. I suppose we'll go to somebody else that has a little bit more written down here. That's Wes Long, Windy City Thunderbolt, 07-08, 191 games played, missed only one game across his time in the Frontier League. And he had 240 hits, and he had a fielding percentage of .936, a postseason All-Star as well.
Damn. I was going to say, I was wondering more about like the slash lines on some of these guys because I was looking up CJ Beatty, and I was kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
The number of hits sounded a lot more impressive than it was. That's not to hate on CJ. Do your thing, bro. But like,
yeah.
I like, all right. Also, now here's the question. Now, I'm trying to look at Wes Long, right? The write-up on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird because, like, for me, like, he had 5 years with Windy City, but only 2 were Frontier League.
Mm.
Well, I guess that's right, because he went to Winnipeg. In my head, I had W teams. I was like, oh, wasn't he with Windy City longer? But no, it's weird to see where, like, I'd argue maybe I don't know. He did kill it. My God, those are some numbers. I'm just, like, looking at his slash. I'm like, oh, God. He played all but one game over those 2 years. So I'm looking at this right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, get after it.
Yeah, so there's there. If you look at some of the other numbers, some of the other ones are impressive, like Keith Habig, also a Richmond Rooster, which again, I feel like that's a solid name. Good alliteration.
Good logo, too. Yeah.
Won the batting title in 97. Two-time postseason All-Star, 152 games played, 140 RBIs, on base and slugging of 1,067. That seems to be pretty good.
Yep. They'll do it.
Yep. And then there's also John Ronca, Springfield player. I did not write down. I think Springfield Capitals, if I remember right. 97-98 postseason All-Star, 153 on the games, 209 on the hits, 1,005 OPS.
I'm just looking through, like catching up with you a little bit. Like, it's so hard. Again, like the eras. It's like comparing like Atlantic League stats, like where they've like fluctuated so much and exactly what the competition looked like.
That, and also you make a good point with the competition. That was what I was about to say, where there just seems to be, like when everything first started, to be a higher cut of player in each league. Like it hadn't established the pecking order yet. Not to say that there's not good players in like Frontier and Pioneer now, but like if we're being real, it's the American Association and it's the Atlantic League that got the, kind of quadruple A talent. Right? So like before, it feels like, oh, you just get guys that rightfully could be playing overseas in the Atlantic League. And then Frontier League, you get guys that are more like, American Association type guys today.
Yeah, and something I'm working on is like full ERA plus and OPS plus for all the leagues. So I have it for Atlantic League because I was covering it for a couple, like 3 years there where I was just entirely focused on that. It takes a lot more to get the rest of these leagues together, but I'm working on it because it is, the line is so fine too, where it's like, okay, you're still looking at, a lot of the time, roughly the same number of former major leaguers and their talent level is about where it was. And it's like a mix of old guys at the end of their career and young guys who just didn't stick. And then you got like up and comers, but really there's certain like seasons where the difference between one season or one league and another is like 1 or 2 like scrub relievers on each roster, which doesn't sound like much. We're talking 25-man roster. We're talking 2 not back end, like low leverage relievers that are just the biggest, most glaring differences. So you're like, okay, it's not that big a difference. But then when you remember that's like 1 one at bat every game or two where you're facing against a guy who just is not ready to go, like who is not up to par. You're like, oh man, like that kind of throws the whole environment off. Like that's more runs on the ERA, that's more runs and like points on the OPS. Like it throws so much stuff off. It's really, really difficult to compare the eras. That's, if you see me in my brain, if you could see me over here, it's just like spinning anytime I start getting into like the different eras of the different indie leagues. And what does this mean?
So it's like the Zach Galifianakis gif with all the numbers and stuff going past the head.
Literally too stupid to insult. Yeah, that's about it.
Oh, terrible. You know who isn't too stupid to insult? Steve Marino.
There you go. That's about that.
Yeah, see, every once in a while I'm able to get it back on the rails, right?
Yeah, now and again.
Exactly. See, you know. But, Steve Marino, Evansville, Southern Illinois guy, 2012, 2016, coach for a little while too with the minors. 431 games played, 418 hits, 44 home runs, a postseason all-star. Yeah.
I mean, again, issue with the eras. I'm like, nope, not going to do it. I don't want to be like, I don't know enough about mid 2000s Premier League still at this point. I'm still learning, as I said, going back through all the eras and getting a feel for everything. I don't know enough to say anything negative. So I'm going to go, yep, sounds about right. That's a lot of bombs.
You know what's going to be fun when we go from eras talk with the Frontier League, which congrats to all of them for getting in there. Press release has all the dates for when they're going to be inducted in by the teams that still exist. They get induction ceremonies. Check that out if you're interested in any of that. But you know, it's more fun than Frontier League eras talk.
What could possibly be more fun?
Well, a Taylor Swift eras concert, but that's not what we have tickets to right now. What we do have is Atlantic League eras talk.
Okay, hit me. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking about the Ducks setting the Atlantic League wins record.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too.
Yeah. 1,581 wins. Got that 1,581st win against the York Revolution on Monday. They passed Somerset for first all time. They are behind the Patriots by one postseason win from the most postseason wins all time. Really, when I saw the graphic, the only thing I was like was, oh, the Bluefish are here. Good for them.
Right? They racked up more than people remember. They were nasty back in the day.
I know, really in the 90s and early aughts, they were killing it. Like, they were a powerhouse team until they started losing money. And honestly, they probably could have survived if they wouldn't have been thrown out of their ballpark.
Yeah, I think about it a lot. What could have been. It would have been nice to have that stretch back up toward New England, too, like league perspective.
Oh, yeah. Geographically, it would have been perfect. I mean, we spent the last show talking about like geography and how everything lays out. You really need that one other team in the North to really kind of make everything make sense.
Yeah, agreed.
Because right now, Staten Island and Long Island are just kind of like out there. You need that one team in like Connecticut, New York, like more suburban New York or New Jersey in there to just kind of make it all nice and even. At the very least, you need something in like South Jersey to try and make things more whole. Because right now, it just seems so awkward. Especially, you figure they're going to either lose a team or they're going to have to gain another team to level out Hagerstown. And as it stands right now, the way the divisional setup is, it's just going to be really awkward and weird.
Yeah. I got thoughts. I don't know how much you want to get into it. I know.
Go to the weeds.
Well, first thing I'll say is Bridgeport, man, 7 straight seasons over 500, more than 6 games over 500 to start their first 7 years in the Atlantic League. So then wheels fell off for 1 year. But also, Tommy John managed them for 2.5 seasons. Oh. I know, right? Fun fact.
I feel like I should know this because I did a whole post and a whole article on Bluefish history at one point.
It's weird the stuff that fades in and out, though.
Yeah.
Other than the one game that Pete Rose also was the manager. But it is. It's funny how the wheels did fall off at the end. Like, again, so they had that below 500 season. They were back above, below. Above looked good. 83 and 57, 68 and 59. And then it just started in 2012. It was 5 games under, 31 games under, almost 50. It was like 46 games under 500, 27 games under 500, 8. And then they had a big season, 2017, 76 and 64. Shout out to Luis Rodriguez for turning that around.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, that's just.
And they missed the postseason that last year that they were there. Remember that because the half season screwed them over.
Yeah, man, that sucks. Anyway, but okay, so if we're talking expansion, I've been super interested. I did a whole video on it a few months back. Well, probably last fall now, but something's got to give because Frederick is obviously in. They're not even pretending anymore because you don't announce a rebrand in mid-season for a team that's only one season. So they're obviously sticking around.
Counterpoint, unlike Counterclock, would be that would be the most Atlantic-like thing possible. Wait 6 months to announce branding that you're only going to use for an additional 3 months.
I would say that isn't the most Atlantic League thing ever that could possibly happen here. The most Atlantic League thing ever is having a whole deal worked out where a team is that confident that they're announcing a brand like that, and then the Atlantic League kind of screws them, and then they don't keep it next year.
They never process the contract, and it's just like, oh yeah, by the way.
Yeah, or they're like, oh yeah, that's the plan, it's the plan, and it, falls through.
And then 3 weeks later, we go, welcome to the Frontier League. Right?
Well, so there's that. I mean, it makes sense with the Hagerstown, Frederick joining in. Nice to have them near Southern Maryland. Cool. Yeah. I just think, again, it's got to be either Frederick or Charleston Lexington or Charleston that drop. I think it's just too hard to add a team. It's so difficult. They've been thinking about how hard it was to find Hagerstown, which needed all this work. That was like 3 years ago. They started announcing that, I feel like. So, I mean, it's been so difficult to find a new market or even an existing market they can switch in. So unless they have some plans for the draft league team, which who knows, maybe they do, Frederick's connected to the draft league team. So, maybe, but I just see it as so much more likely that they drop a team.
The only thing I would say to that is, what number of teams are we currently at when we add Hagerstown in? Would it be 13?
11.
11, okay. So 11 is an awkward number because I was going to say, odd numbers aren't necessarily a problem if you can divide them by, say, 3.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Because, the other thing, well, again, it's such a bad footprint. Because I was like, you could even do a north, south, and west division if you wanted to go about it that way, adding a team out in the Lexington, Charleston area. But that's just 3 teams instead, because it would be nice if you could do 3 divisions of 4. But
yeah, because that was my thought process. Exactly, it was that. Because if you go 3 divisions, like you said, 3 of 4 would be good, 3 of 5 would be fine. Obviously, then we're really getting to a big footprint at that point. Which honestly, maybe that's something over in the Frontier League we start to look at. We go by 3 by 5 if we can't figure out this Empire State thing. But in any case, and then you just alter the playoff to be more of the division winner each of the 3 divisions get in, and then 1 wild card. Done.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know. I'm so nervous about any expansion for any league right now. So I'm like, it can sound good, in practice, whole other thing. I'm really trying to rack my brain on the draft, because I've talked before about the Appalachian League teams. There's a couple good Appy teams that have indicated that they could use a trip out. Oh damn, Montreal Marshall got released by High Point. That sucks. Anyway, Montreal is having a tough year, but he hit 250 last year for Lexington. He is genuinely one of the nicest people you're meeting in baseball, but neither here nor there. Back to the topic. There were some teams though in the Appalachian League that I really felt optimistic about when it comes to their potential for expanding to indie ball, but I think with those teams, man, a couple of years of Appalachian League level revenue, plus the, whatever they've been getting from MLB, which has to be something, I'd like to think. But I look at it and I just think, I don't know if they have the finances. I feel like if they had the finances to do a big indie ball move, they might have done it already. Yeah,
and I can't imagine it's gotten any better, realistically. Obviously, middle of pandemic is going to be the worst you're going to be at, but you remove that 100-year outlier, I can't imagine that's a great time to go and make a large investment.
Yeah, and I'm trying to pull the attendance numbers here these days, but yeah, the attendance is questionable in some spots, and again,
can you even trust those numbers?
Yeah, I know, but it's the same ones every time that. Pulaski used to be like a stronghold. They're down to 6,400, but I don't know what that is per game because I can't see their schedule right now. But sorry, that wasn't much of a substantive review there. But I'm just trying to think through like what are the potential options here. Yeah, it is really a difficult thing to expand a team right now. I don't know. I do not envy the situation there, having to figure that one out. Yeah, I'm sorry. Circling back, I think Pulaski's looking at like 1,000 people per game right now. I mean, they were always the one. They have a great ballpark down there. They were always seen as a really good potential option, but you know, there's so many other moving parts there and financial questions. It's just brutal. But if you look at the Frederick, well, Frederick does have good Keys attendance. It's so weird, man. I don't know. It's hard to predict.
It is. But speaking of Frederick, they are supposed to announce their name tonight, which now got bumped to tomorrow. So I guess tonight is still accurate for people listening when it comes out. And I was really expecting to be able to, you know, discuss the team name because I figured either A, someone would leak it, or B, we would just be talking so long the game would start and then one of us would know what the team name is.
Yeah, what are you rooting for between those? Do you have them in front of you?
Yeah, I got them. Oh yeah, by the way, choices were Bone Shakers, Ghost Hounds, Rail Frogs, Sawbones, Screaming Alpacas as the finalists there. I feel like Ghost Hounds has the most potential to have like some really, you know, some cool designs there. Maybe go with like a neon or lime green with like kind of a gunmetal gray and a black in there. I feel like that could be pretty cool.
Agreed. Yeah, as I said, like I think 3 or 4 out of the 5 that Hagerstown put out there are good to solid options. I think Frederick, these are really not good. And I feel bad. I want to be more hype about it, but like I like Screaming Alpacas because it's funny, but I don't think it's a good name. I think like
Screaming Alpacas is the kind of name where like for a one-off would be perfect.
Funny, yep. And I think also the thing is everyone's going to call me Alpacas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that's it. We're not going to say Screaming Alpacas every time. Like, oh, and then after that, they're heading down to Frederick to play the Screaming Alpacas. Like, maybe you'll say that, but all throughout the broadcast, you're probably going to be calling them the Alpacas or just Frederick.
Yeah, exactly. See, and the thing is, like, Frederick Screaming Alpacas does not sound good.
Yeah, no ring to it.
Exactly.
Frederick Sawbones, kind of, but this is a rare one where I just hate the origin of it. It's weird.
Like, yeah, it's like Civil War, right?
Civil War doctors hone their craft from removing damaged limbs. I'm like, yeah, dude, like, because they have the Museum of Civil War Medicine there in town. Okay. So first, we're referencing the museum in town, which is referencing the dudes sawing off,
limbs,
the limbs of like in this national tragedy, like arguably the worst thing that's happened in our country ever. I'm like, I don't know that's where you go, my guy.
Yeah, it's just like there's no way that kind of meshes with like the minor league baseball of family fun type of thing. Plus, like, what are they going to wind up like? Because you're going to have a mascot in there. Like, what's the mascot? A hacksaw?
I would say, maybe they don't have a mascot. Dirty Birds don't have a mascot.
I mean, to be fair, the Toastman's like a quasi mascot.
Fair enough. Yeah,
so,
fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, like the only one with any sort of alliteration in it would be Rail Frog, because Frederick Rail Frog's kind of,
kind of vibes. And Rail Frogs could work as a team name. I could see it.
Yeah, because I could see like a frog in a conductor's hat or something.
It's so weird that everybody's in on like the two name, like, or at least like combined name thing, which there's more than we think. Like how many of those that are one word, but they capitalize half the word? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of some examples, but I think it was like there's a couple just in the Atlantic League where I'm like, hold on, where are we here? Yeah, there we go. So like the Fairy Hawks, one word, capitalized H on Hawks.
Yeah.
There's like a bunch of them. I think the American Association has one too. Like it's weird. But that is definitely the vibe. I mean, how many teams named, in the last 10 years are like, if you even, since I'm on the Atlantic League, like Rockers is like the rare exception, but it's like Dirty Counterclocks, Honey Hunters, Fairy Hawks, Blue Crabs, even though Blue Crabs has been around a while. Yeah. So I'm just roping that in. But that does seem to be the thing these days. And I'd like to think there's some sort of research behind it. People like that rhythm or something.
Maybe, but I just, like, honestly, at this point, I'm kind of tired of the trend. Like, even looking at, like, the Hagerstown ones, and we'll get to those in 1 second. Like, I like them, but I don't love them. It's, like, plain and boring as it is, I kind of wish we could get something a little bit more traditional in there. Like, some of them are going out there a little bit too much for me.
And honestly, man, I think Keys is a great brand. I think that kind of makes it challenging. Like, Charleston had that unique situation when they rebranded because the Charlie's was a really good and like well-liked brand.
Yeah.
They just didn't want to steer that way from what I understand because it's the whole cigar image. It's old school.
Smoking.
You know, it's how we sell merch.
Then just remove the pipe.
Yeah. And also, I do think the Dirty Birds, it was a good rebrand. It got hate in the beginning, but I think it was a good vibe. Like, I do think the logo is a little like too on the grandiose design thing, but
Nick Jr. cartoon.
I get they had to like make it appeal to kids while also going with a name that like spoke to like honestly the darker history of West Virginia and kind of nodded to that. And I think that was all right. I mean, there's arguments to be had about is Charleston necessarily the mining town part of things, but you know, whatever. Don't get me started on.
Yeah. Well, now we're getting into West Virginia politics.
Yes, exactly right.
So, any case, we'll talk about Hagerstown here because that's the second to last piece of news. And it is just that they're going to announce the name. I believe in sometime in July, but we have finalists for the name. There's also a Name the Team contest on the Herald Mail website, so you can check that out over there. Name finalists are Battle Swans, Diesel Dogs, Flying Boxcars, Tin Lizards, and Haymakers. I agree with 3 out of the 5 being good. I want to see if we have the same 2 that we don't like.
Okay. I'll tell you off the bat, my least favorite out of the squad, my number 5. I'll go about by. I got the Diesel Dogs in my number 5.
Agreed. I don't like anything about it, and the Z in there really is annoying me. It feels like we're trying to be too radical and extreme.
It's a little league name.
Yeah,
like that's my kid's t-ball team. Like that's what it sounds like. Oh, the Diesel Dogs. All the dad's like, oh, cool.
Oh yeah, like Diesel Dogs. I could see that being like a great backyard baseball name.
It's just trying so hard. Like, oh, cool blitzball team name.
Yeah.
Ciao, John Boy.
Yeah. Second least favorite is?
Probably the Flying Boxcars for sure.
See, I got Battle Swans in the 4th spot because it feels like they're trying to rip off St. Louis with the Battle Hawks. And
right. I kind of forgot about that, to be honest.
Yeah, like that was my first thing. I thought of it like that, and I was like, that just kind of is a weird name. Like Flying Boxcars does give me like some sort of like Harry Potter or like 80s kids book vibe, like, you know, kind of Hardy Boys vibe. You know? So I'm not thrilled with that, but I feel like you can make some sort of cool design or cool logo off of it. Now, of course, the Frederick Flying Boxcars would sound way better than the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars, but, you know, apparently we can't have those nice things here.
Yeah, that's actually a fair point.
So really where I'm torn is between Hagerstown Haymakers, which just rolls really nice. So I kind of like that. Or the Tin Lizards, because I just think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I think Tin Lizards kind of plays well. If I'm honest, I didn't even take the time to like fully listen to like the reasoning on that name, but like I just like good vibe. Like it, like that passes the vibe test at least.
Yeah, see that's the thing here, because like when I heard it, I was thinking like on a really like heavy like New York accent saying lizard, and I was like, oh, that'd be funny as hell. Even though it has nothing to do with New York, but just saying like Tin Lizard just sounds fantastic to me, and I just like I love that vibe. Yeah. But, like, if I'm picking a team name, I probably gotta go Haymakers just because the alliteration's too good.
Yeah, the Hagerstown Haymaker sounds great. And I really do think, like, I tweeted about this one, like, I think that energy there is, like, if you really lean hard to if you lean, like, really hard into, like, a farm, like a jacked, like, farmer with like, his clenched fist, I think that kind of fits the energy, too. It kind of fits the fact that, like, you know, Maryland has a lot of farm country, and people don't really think about that unless they think about Baltimore, neither here or there again. I do think, like, yeah, I think that really could do well. I think it could crush it when it comes to merch, too.
Yeah, it just feels real. Plus, if you do that, though, they got to be in the same division as the Barnstormers, because Haymaker's got to be with Barnstormers. Hay with Barn.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. No, I'll give you that one for sure.
Like, it just needs to be. And honestly, it kind of fits with Revolution, too, because I assume Revolution's supposed to be Industrial Revolution, also kind of a play on American Revolution. And when I think of, like, Industrial Revolution, I think of automated farming equipment now. And if you think farming, you think haymaker. It just, like, the three have to be together.
Agreed. Yeah, I think you're there. I no notes. We're on the same page for sure. Yeah.
Which really gets us back to the point that we started with, which is 3 divisions, a north, a central, and a south just makes so much sense.
Yeah. Nah, I could see it.
But we can't have nice things, so that's where we're at. And they'll just go to 2 if they have 12.
Yeah.
So the only realistic way to get the 3 set up is either to go down to 9 or go up to 15. And going to 9 seems to be a lot easier of a path.
Yeah, I just don't know if I like 3 teams in it. I don't know, like 3-team divisions.
I mean, is it better? Is it that much worse than what we have now for a playoff system?
I think of it in a weird way where the number one complaint, that's like not the number one complaint. The number one complaint that pops up about on-field stuff. We're not talking about like the normal like BS you deal with from fans. But number one thing from season ticket holders about like the on-field product tends to be that like same teams over and over complaints about the schedule. I get a lot of DMs about schedules.
Yeah.
And I heard it plenty when I was in Lexington too. So my one thought is like the last thing you want to do is start rubbing some season ticket holders the wrong way in like multiple markets by having them play like even more than they do, because the Atlantic League is really bad on repeat competition. Like even more by having 3-team divisions. Like I think I wouldn't invite playing each other even more than they do now with 5-team divisions. I just think that would be, there's potential for, you can only watch the same head to head. And especially now, if you're talking about a league that if you have 3 divisions, you're going to need a wild card. Like you very easily can have just a trash team in one of those divisions. And then, your second team's definitely going to make a wild card then.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what would be the most effective way if you're going to do the division setup, which feels like 60 games against, but then again, you only got to play 2 other teams.
Yeah.
So if you're doing that, and I'm trying to figure out what would be a good number to divide into by 3 as well. So that you have the 3-game series and then you want that to come into it. So like if you were to play 3 teams, or 60 in-game divisions across 3 teams, 20 each, 10-10 each way makes it simpler. I see what you're saying. The math is tough. And on top of that, like you said with the fan thing, that would be a problem. So I understand the argument against it. If they weren't,
it sounds nitpicky, but I just know that that's your season ticket holders tend to be a little bit nitpicky.
Yeah. So like if you were to go to 15, I'd say I'd like that better because then at least it's 4 teams in that division that you're playing against, and that's a bit better, especially if you're having some interdivision play fairly frequently. If you're saying for like every 2 in-division series is another out-of-division series, then I feel like that's fine. Right? But if you're only at 9 playing 2 others, then it would be a problem. Yeah, you gotta have double it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about right. It's not a good, if I'm the Atlantic League, I'm doing all I can to find another market, but I don't trust them anymore.
They'll come up with Shreveport as the answer?
Yeah, something wild, man. I want to go to New Orleans.
Yeah, they'll go New Orleans and they'll go Shreveport both at the same time.
That would make more sense, honestly. Like, at least then you're making the trip down there to play 2 series.
Yeah, but the real answer to that question is then, why aren't both of them in the American Association where they belong?
Yeah, fair enough. And because the American Association would go for that before, because they're trying to not justify, that sounds bad, but like kind of round out that Cleburne area where they used to have a bunch of teams near them, and now it's just a road trip. Yeah, why? Because it's a 2-week-long road trip there, where even Cleburne, when you look at like attendance-wise, even if they're milking that number, it's not a great number, and they just changed hands for the 3rd time in like 5 years. Well, it's I started thinking about this a lot. Like, I think about it. We talked about it maybe even on the pod about New England. The problem with New England expansion is everyone's afraid of losing basically any April or early May date. I mean, it's up in PA right now. I mean, it's mid 60s, gray and rainy right now in June. So if you're going up north even more, and I mean, you're starting to really run into some days where people are just going to be not in it. Yeah. But man, like Cleburne, like that's what, turf field in the middle of summer in Texas.
Yeah.
Like no cover. I mean, there's a reason the ballpark in Arlington's beautiful. There's a reason they don't play there anymore. Like they just couldn't get butts in seats. And I think that might be the energy. I mean, if we want to talk about it, I also think the marketing of Cleburne's really bizarre. The way they like attack Astros fans. If you've seen that,
I have
like,
not. No,
bro. They'll like, and maybe they haven't done as much recently, but it just stuck with me. Like they, at least for a while, would routinely like make jokes about like hating on Astros fans, or whatever. And like, I'm like, bro, like half the baseball fans in the state are probably associating as Astros fans here. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, especially the young ones who only know the Astros as successful as opposed to the Rangers.
Exactly. I was just very weird. Like, I never understood what the thought process was there. And they've done some weird stuff. They had that April Fool's joke this year that put me over on them. I was like, God, like, I'm good. Like, I don't really.
That's the thing too. It wasn't even like, it was good in the way of that. Like, it's extremely believable because wasn't Derek Holland?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he wound up signing in York, which is actually the funny part, which makes me almost want to believe that like they had genuinely thought he was signed and then he backed out of the contract and they're like, nah, April Fools. Or there was something like that.
Except he put something out who's like, I don't even know who this team is. Like, no, I'm not signing with anybody. Like, like, I don't know. It was just like, it was just really not good. And like, here's the other thing, right? So that's a guy who's like, now he was in a situation where he's like trying to keep the career alive. He's had a great, like, he's got MLB time. Like, I don't know, he's down right now. And then to like have things going around, like he was signed and like signed to an E-ball team, like both of it is like, gets his hopes up if he doesn't like looking at it, or he's like, what the hell is this? And like for the first time, he's like, why are people saying I'm signed somewhere? What the hell is this E-ball team? Oh, they're making a joke about signing me. Like, all of it's just like mean spirited in a way that I don't think you can be a little mean spirited. I'm not saying it has to be like nice all the time. It's Twitter. Like, I'm cracking jokes about this most all week. Sorry. I just think that you also need to look and be like, there better be a good pop. Like, you better really cash it in. And they just didn't. Like, it just wasn't a good vibe. Like,
I see it, and like the thing is, I mean it good in the way of it's extremely believable, because Derek Holland was, I mean, it really is, because he did wind up signing with York, but he was a believable name for that. But at the same time, it also was just so random. And the thing is, it's not like it's particularly funny. That's the thing. Like, if there was a payoff to it, then it would be something else. Or like, if they were touting like, oh, Derek Holland, and then they had a different dude named Derek Holland that they trot out in like some sort of video release, right?
Yeah, the whole thing was like, like you have like employees on the side, like almost office style. Like, I don't think it's Derek Holland.
Yeah,
like it's like, I am Derek Holland. It's like, okay, I don't think he's that Derek Holland. But like, yeah, and it's not even creative. Like the Staten Island did like the crappily edited Chris DiStefano signed video or like picture or whatever. Like literally in the same April Fool's Day, other teams did the same thing. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. That one, but it rubbed me. The point is, it rubbed me the wrong way. And like, if I'm a player and I see they do that and like show that they're just kind of out of touch, or like, you know, is that a good vibe? I'm not really as interested in doing that. I don't know, but I don't know. You had the guy on from Cleburne, manager, right? Yeah,
Logan Watkins.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, and that was a great interview. You seem like a great guy. So
Logan's
choose
cool.
to think the best of Cleburne. But to summarize, I totally understand why they have bad attendance. Like, it's not the on-field product's fault.
Oh yeah, I mean, like it really, like, while they haven't been an overly successful franchise, it really isn't that. I think everyone kind of knew that's the problem. I mean, that was Grand Prairie's problem too, partially on top of being just a dog shit team. That's going to hurt you every time when you basically have a development deal with a Chinese or Taiwanese league team. But regardless of that, being in the heat has always been a problem there, which makes me kind of wonder because Cleveland's not that far from Dallas Fort Worth, and I don't think Grand Prairie's all that far either. You know, if you lose someone that's, you know, like could be a co-marketing type of thing,
yeah,
it does kind of raise some questions there, which I'm not even sure how we got on to Cleveland talk, but we're here now.
And right now the format's in shambles, and I apologize for that. So the last thing I'm going to say, we're going to circle back on one thing because I just want to get off my chest. I know somebody's going to try from West Virginia to try to get my DMs about this. Okay, I know that like Kanawha around Charleston had mining. I'm talking about like it just is weird for Charleston, which is like, you know, kind of bougie and likes to be
the big city.
Like is gonna grab like the Dirty Birds thing and claim that, but it doesn't make it a bad team name. I just think like if you really want to go like the like Dirty Bird, like grime energy, like the rough energy, like I mean, dude, you're like 50 miles away from Blair Mountain. You could lean into like the Revolution vibe. Like can't name Revolution, obviously shout out York, but like there was something there. You could have gone like real edgy with it if you really wanted to and leaned into the history of like us against the world. Like there was room. I just think there was room to do more as the name. But it's fine. They all in all, they did fine.
For what difference it makes, I couldn't name more than probably like 2 places in West Virginia. So it's all mines to me. But
West Virginia people, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? There's mining near there. I'm like, yeah, I get that. Like, it's cool. Like, it's just not what you think of with Charleston. That's all.
I'm just happy they have the internet. Good for them.
Hey, chill. Honestly, where I live in Kentucky. Back to the topic at hand. Where are we at on the agenda?
Oh, yeah. We got one last piece of news. Because we went through the names. Yeah.
Sorry.
All we got news-wise is Rickwood Field's going to host an MLB game, former Negro League Park. So I'm just going to throw out there, what's the trickle-down effect to Hinchcliffe? Now, I don't think they're getting anything, but hey, it's worth throwing out there.
They got that announcement about the new Hall of Fame, whatever.
Yeah, the Larry Doby plaque.
Yes, sorry. No offense to Larry Doby. It was just like, you know, you think it's going to be bigger.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't see how you're going to host a major league ball game there. I mean, with all due respect, we see how the Jackals are tearing up that place. I can only shiver to think what a major league hitter is going to do there.
Yeah, in the defense of both the Jackals and the ballpark, they are doing that on the road as well.
Fair.
They're offense, but like also, let's be honest, like that offense was built for that stadium. So
yeah, and the problem I have
slugging .510.
Yeah,
they're leading the league in home runs by 12 home runs. Good God.
Yeah, we're gonna have more on Jackal Power coming up later on in the show. So, but more to the point. It's just I just don't think that stadium's up to major league quality even for one game. I mean, we've seen the inside of this redone stadium and it looks nice. And the fact that it's primarily supposed to be used for the Patterson school system makes a lot of sense. And it's very nice for that. It's going to serve that purpose extremely well. Problem is the standard between high school athletics and professional baseball is not comparable. No. And so when you have pop-up tents and a bouncy house on a track inside the fence, it just kind of looks cartoony.
Yep. I would say that they probably, I got to figure they've tried to get a game there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Harold Reynolds has been beating that drum too.
Oh, but, yeah. And Andre Singh, the mayor of Patterson's really hammered that one.
I can't imagine now. I just can't imagine MLB liking that vibe, liking those optics. I mean, I would say MLB is probably like, hey, like, we're cool with it if you do this and this. I mean, MLB is all full of, God, where do you want to begin on the list of where they're hypocritical on this kind of thing? Because how many teams got cut loose under the guise of field conditions? Like, that's what happened with Trenton, which say what you will about Trenton, but I know the guy who did the grounds there, and they were actually pretty good at the end. So it was kind of a weird, like they almost reached at the 5 year before that complaint.
Oh, I remember the Trenton one too, because I got a random press release from the Trenton Thunder And I was like, why was I getting this? And I checked it. And yeah, it was like a legit press release. And I was like, oh, does this mean you're going to the Atlantic League? And then they dropped the bomb of, we're above this.
Yeah. Well, but like after all the teams got cut for that, then they're like, oh, we'll go to like Williamsport and play at like their little minor league field. Apparently that's fine. That's up to major league quality. Like, okay, sure.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're one of the ones that gets cut in the New York Penn League.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
that, or we'll just go to like a soccer stadium that's retrofitted to be a baseball stadium over in London.
Yeah. And that might be the best argument if we're honest for Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That all runs together in the same thing I said the other day, which is, when all that stuff's going down with Oakland and the commissioner's comments on that, I was like, this is why I prefer to not be in MLB stuff for the most part.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you know exactly what's motivating everything. So, which is why the reverse boycott I didn't quite understand. I was like, I get what you're doing. You're trying to prove the point that we all already know. But we all already know it, so why are you trying to prove it? And I feel like Fisher is perfectly cool with you chanting whatever you want in his stadium as long as you're paying him to be there.
Yeah.
So, like, what are you proving?
Agreed. I mean, I think John Boy might have said the same thing. Like, the way you really could have brought that home is if you did that and then the next night like had an actual like full non-reverse boycott. Like nobody went to the game, straight empty.
Yeah.
Just be like, we can do both ways, man. Like you can have something or nothing. But like, and also because then it chips away at whatever bonus he could have gotten out of that first game or that reverse boycott game, which of course, like, he gave it to charity or whatever. But
yeah.
I think it was funny that they kind of outed themselves with that, talking about like how much money got donated, and everyone was like, "Why would you tell us that? Like, why would you tell us to make that much every home game?"
But in any case, I guess we're going to try and keep to the format here. Second part of the show is contract purchases. And so we'll run through them fairly quick. There's actually a decent amount. I think there's like 7 this week, so that's pretty good. First one was Kyle Barraclough, High Point guy, signed to the Boston Red Sox, AAA now, 18 innings, ERA 1, a 1.0 record, 17 strikeouts, 4 walks. Normally a reliever in Major League Baseball, now a starter in the minors. I think he already had 1 start for Worcester, right?
I did not look that one up.
Oh. I rely on you to be the baseball reference guy.
I know, but it's embarrassing how like out of touch I am. I'm like, I gotta like open a new page to even get to like minor league stuff.
He has had 1 start. I know because when I did these notes, like
I'll be ready. I'll get ready. If I'm already ready, I don't have to get ready. So I got it. I'm on you.
All right. Well, that's good because now we're going to from Monday the 19th to Tuesday the 20th because we have 2 signings. The first one, Jared Eichhoff from Lexington goes to the Guardians, formerly known as the Indians, AAA affiliate in Columbus. They're called the Clippers. But he had a 3.4 record, a 6.16 ERA, and just under 50 innings pitched, 40 strikeouts, and 20 walks. If he has had a AAA start, I cannot possibly imagine it went well because the fact he was signed from the Atlantic League is interesting.
Yeah, we don't get all the data that teams get. I have to assume they, 5 innings, 5 runs, by the way.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, I got to assume they saw something, but I mean, he had almost a 1.7 whip, 7 Ks per 9, like 4 walks per 9. Like, I hate, me, pro player. Like, I'm pro player, but like at a certain point, you got to be like, like when certain guys get signed, I'm like, I'm just not going to report this. Or like, you got to kind of go question, like, is this your guy? Okay.
I mean, what happened was they saw a former major leaguer and they're like, yeah, he still got it.
I gotta think they must have they must have seen. All right, my assumption on anybody who gets signed these days, where I go, is that they must have seen something that goes, if he also threw a sweeper, he'd be fine. And maybe that's what was happening. Maybe he was trying to throw a new pitch in the start. I know he got 1 strikeout facing 26 batters. That's a concern. I don't know. I want him to do great. every grinder from indie ball to make it back to the show or make it to the show for, the first time. But I am just, that one really made me, confused enough that I texted you. I never hit you up. Like, I was like, what?
Yeah. And I think I think they thought they were signing Jack Eichel instead.
Right? Yeah. I don't know. I hope all the best for Eichel. I just don't understand what we were looking at there.
I just think like Nick Riquette or Capiana would make more sense than this if we're going off of sheer ability. But
yeah.
In any case, the other guy signed was from Missoula. He's now with the Twins Single A affiliate. That is Cameron Willman. Keep in mind they are Pioneer League numbers, but line was 427, 494, 640, 2 home runs, 15 RBIs, a stolen base, 10 walks in 21 games. Not too bad, but he probably fits in a Single A situation.
Yeah, that's about right. I really would just start grabbing Pioneer League guys like lottery tickets and seeing which ones can hit at another level.
Yeah, that pretty much works out there. I feel like the pitchers, and there's one that we're going to get to in a second, really are the ones where like, ooh, they've done well here. You got to jump on those ones. But even still, Pioneer League guys are basically rookie ball teams at this point, so you might as well just grab the ones you like. We keep moving on.
I don't know that.
Well, where would you compare them to?
Let me check my handy chart here for my exact answer.
Like a Mr. Science.
That's how I am.
Built different.
Now, this was preseason. I've got them.
Out of date information.
Between high A and single A. I would probably put them closer to single A now.
Okay.
So, like, if we're working on a 1 to 100 scale, and single A is a 62 and high A is a 71, I'd probably put Pioneer League around a 65.
Okay, well.
Which is a step backwards for them. I think they got to get this pitching situation under control. I understand there's a shortage of it, but like until it is, maybe there's nothing they can do, but it just, the fact of the matter are
baseballs.
It's a hitters league environmentally. It's a hitters league with the pitchers ability there. But I will say, I believe in anybody who's tossing numbers there. Like, I don't understand. Some of the guys are still around. I'm like, why are you here?
Wow. We're going to get to those other guys that were signed yesterday on Thursday. And one of them is in the Pioneer League, and that's Mark Timmons. Also of Missoula. Angels guy. Now in rookie ball for the Angels. 1-0 record in 18 and a third innings. A 1.47 ERA, 20 Ks, 2 walks in his time there.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense.
Other pitcher that was signed, there's 2 other guys. First one was Nick Harold of Lake Country, the Doghounds. He goes to the Giants. Could not find what level he's on. I checked high and low. I have to imagine it'll be likely either double A or high A. That seems to be where most of their indie ball signings go, which I noticed when I was searching through there. A lot of indie ball guys that got signed by the Giants have been released this month from the Giants. So they seem to just get them in, get them out, turn them out, turn them in, turn them out. So good and bad to be signed by the Giants, I guess. Wait, see. Hopefully you make it to the grinder. But either way, Nick Harold 4-2, a 3.38 ERA in 37 and a third innings, 43 strikeouts, 13 walks for Nick Harold.
Yeah, sure. Hope it goes well. I don't trust the Giants organization. That's why I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I think they're a churn and burn type of organization these days, but that's fine. Also, I'm looking at the fact that Eichhoff's last outing in the Atlantic League, he was throwing 89.
And he got signed?
Yep. Must see something, man. And right on the spider's good. I'll tell you that.
This is like one of those Law and Order episodes where you're just desperately trying to figure out who did it, and you just can't figure it out for the life of you.
Yeah, that's about right. But he does have good spin rate. That's probably what they're looking at. I mean, it's got to be. Fast 4-seam isn't great, but I mean, that's not where you're signing him. Anyway.
Now, allow me to be an old school, old head type of scout. Like kind that's after a lot of the guys that manage independent league baseball's heart, which is his spin rate's good, but he allows a lot of runs.
Oh, yeah. The response is, ooh, big number on spin rate. You know what else is a big number? His ERA.
Yeah. So, like, that's the thing. Like, I get it. I'm not anti-advanced numbers. It's just more information that factor in. But, like, I feel like you don't just sign a guy off a spin rate. Like there has to be some ability to go with it.
Yeah, I know it's true. And again, I don't want to bash on Jared Eichhoff. It's just confusing. It's confusing to me too when it's like it's something else we talk about. It's just that it's so much easier if you're a pitcher to get signed. Like it's kind of crazy. Yeah. And okay, it's obviously easier if you're a former MLB guy too, because it's a whole different situation. So whatever.
Yeah. But talking about guys getting signed and it being easier for pitchers to get signed, let's talk about Christopher de Guzman, who is a batter that got signed from Great Falls, White Sox guy. I think just single A. I think he's with Kannapolis, if I saw the post right. Line 441, 485, 525, no home runs, 9 RBIs, 1 stolen base, 6 walks in 16 games.
Sheesh.
Pretty good week or two.
Went at it.
Yeah. He took advantage of the Pioneer League environment. So good for de Guzman.
Gonna be a man.
Yeah. But, the only other guy to get signed, Eisger Matson. That is a Southern Maryland fellow. Double A is where he is. I did not write where he went. I believe it was the Twins, though, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a 1-1 record, 3.32 ERA, 19 innings pitched, 24 Ks, 8 walks in that time frame. Yeah.
Also, by the way, filling in the blanks here, Cleveland does have 4 injured relievers at the AAA level.
That'll do it.
Yep.
So was this just a matter of, hey, how would you like to come up and pitch for Columbus for a couple weeks?
Nice ballpark.
Yeah. I mean, Columbus seems like one of those nice kind of mid-tier cities. The problem, of course, is that it is in Ohio. So being in Ohio is definitely a handicap.
Yeah, but I mean, he was in Lexington.
Fair point.
That's what I said.
Kentucky to Ohio is probably, but...
I mean, they're attached.
That's why I'm like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
See, this is also why I'm not allowed to leave a coast. If I leave a coast, I'm in trouble. But
yeah, all right.
Regardless, though, that's all the contract purchases this week. If we're going to try and keep with the format, which I don't know how it's going, it's probably going like a Titanic expedition at this point.
We might have to pace push a little bit.
Yeah, but I do want to talk about the one series in the series preview.
I get it.
Which is High Point versus Gastonia. Middle of the week series, or start of the week series, I actually believe 27 to 29, if I'm not mistaken. Or is it 26 to 28? Or is Monday the getaway day?
Yes. Okay. It's going to be a bang.
Would it be safe to say that this is a series that decides the outcome of the division? I mean, that we are like 10 days away from the end of the first half?
I mean, yeah, right? I mean, I'm pulling the schedule again. I think they play... Hold on, let me check my records here.
Because Gastonia has 3 at Staten Island before this, and then High Point 3 at home versus Southern Maryland.
Yep. And then they have last night of the first half. They are playing High Point one more time. So, I would say it is the series to determine the division if Gastonia sweeps it.
Okay.
I think if High Point sweeps it, Gastonia still has a shot, but wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah. So it really could come down to us. Really, the point here is like this, because it doesn't give you much breathing room. This could really be a foot on the throat type of thing.
True. I mean, Gastonia does have 3 against Frederick coming up. They won their first 9 against Frederick to start the year. I know they won 2 out of 3 against them last time. So I mean, they beat up Frederick. That's a fact.
Yeah, and they also have Staten Island before that, too. So, I mean, that should be...
11 against Frederick? Good God.
Wait, what?
Gastonia, calm down.
What's Gastonia doing now?
Gastonia has that memory burned in them of that first season where everyone just teed off.
The thing that gets me, though, is like with Gastonia, you would think like, oh, well, they're still doing the same thing they were doing last year. But it's like, no, they're not really doing that anymore. They changed the way they're winning.
Yep, it's true.
And like, that's a credit to Salisbury, right?
Yeah, absolutely is. I've talked about before, but just doing a great job, man. Handling business.
Yeah, he just like casually came and was like, yeah, we're going to win this way. And I was like, it didn't quite work well enough. Let's try it this way. And the thing is, they keep winning even though they keep losing like all their leading hitters.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, you can't ignore the fact that it happened at High Point last year, and Gastonia was the benefactor there. So you're on high alert for it to happen the other way this year. But
true. But either way, in case people are wondering why we're saying this is going to determine the series, is they're both tied right now for first place in the division. I don't know who holds the tiebreaker. I think it's Gastonia, but I'm not 100% certain. But yeah, so that's why it could very well come down to this, because one side sweeps the other, then that's a big hole to have to undo in about 1 week's time.
The tiebreaker is 50-50.
50-50 right now. So it's like all the way through?
So they have 4 games left. So it's possible to tie the tiebreaker.
And then what's the secondary tiebreaker?
Oh, God. Oh, no. It's always so difficult to look that up.
Yeah, you weren't ready for that.
Don't push me on that right now, but I can circle back to you in like probably 2 minutes with an answer.
All right. Well, then I'll just talk for 2 minutes, and then we'll get that tiebreaker answer. Background on Gastonia. A lot of key departures as of recent. JC Ascaris, the main guy that I'm thinking of. Although Stephen Moya, who has been gone for a minute now, he's gone too. There's a couple other guys as well. As far as Gastonia is concerned, 8-4 in their last 12. Most runs scored in the Atlantic League. A top 3 offense, a top 3 pitching team. They don't really steal a lot of bases because, as we were just saying, they've kind of changed their makeup as to how they score their runs. And so far in the month of June, they are 9-1. On the road. This is, of course, a series that is at High Point. So that is why it is relevant. As far as how High Point is concerned, they have 3 games at home before they play the Honey Hunters. They have the Blue Crabs at home. They are 2-2 at home in June. So it is what it is. However, they are the hotter team here. They're coming in on a 5-game winning streak, winners of 9 of their last 3. So fairly even compared to Gastonia, a top 3 batting team as well, but I would call them the top pitching team in the league by most general metrics. So it is essentially 2 of, if not the 2 best teams in this league fighting each other for the division.
I got your answer.
Okay. Let's hear what the secondary tiebreaker would be.
So it would be the intra-division record. So if the head-to-head record's also a tie, then the involved clubs' records within their division will break the tie.
Right. Now, should that be a tie?
That would be then the interdivision record, so non-division record.
And
which
that were
they have the same record and the same head-to-head record and same interdivision. I think it's guaranteed they would have the same interdivision, right? It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm missing some math there. But then it's...
Unless there was rainouts or something like that.
Yeah, then it's a question mark, because they follow MLB tiebreaker rules. I don't know if they follow it down to number 4, which is last half of the intra-league games, which is an interesting choice. So it would be like the last half of their games against the South Division. It's odd. I don't know if that's accurate or not down for the Atlantic League, but
personally, I think what they should just do instead is just send one league official to each team's home ballpark and pick one pitcher to throw the hardest pitch they can and one batter to hit a ball as far as they can. Each only gets one shot at it, and whoever has the harder pitch advances. If that's a tie, whoever hits the farthest baseball advances.
I'm just trying to think. I mean, in my dream world, they would be like, all right, it's a tie, same head-to-head record, all that. You guys are playing again tomorrow, so that will decide. And you're like, oh, right. Like, convenient enough. We'll play a 1-game playoff, and it's tomorrow in your regular season game.
But we could just go to the Frontier League sudden death rules.
Yeah, honestly, could. I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, I mean that probably would work. Which, by the way, did you see Tri-City lost on a last night against I think it was last night, if not the night before, to Quebec, 10th inning, bases loaded walk.
Really? I did miss that one. I'm behind by like one night on 2 leagues, and Frontier was one of them.
Yeah, no, I saw the tweet about it, and I think I quote tweeted it with, "What a heartbreaking way to lose a game."
Yep, that's a walk. Damn, brutal.
God, that's got to kill. So, any thoughts on this series beyond, obviously it will determine the outcome. Any sort of guess as to who's going to pull it out?
Damn, dude. I do trust Gastonia, man. I really do. For the series, Damn, man. I'm trying to think about it. Like, it is really close between those two. Obviously, I mean, hey, they're 500 against each other. High Point's been hot, though. That offense has been so good again. Remember early in the year, High Point had those, like, ridiculous offensive numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah. The last 6 games, they hung 26 runs on Southern Maryland in a 3-game series, and then they put up 29 on Lexington. So
40 runs in a week's going to do it.
Yeah, they're starting to look like that again. So I'm probably going to say High Point wins this series. That said, I'm not sold on them winning the division still.
So that's the hang-up here. The hang-up is, in a way, you think you win this series, it really does kind of give you an edge in this, in the division race, but it's just the team you think is going to win the series. You're not sold on taking advantage of the edge.
Yeah, that's my thing. I mean, because they have 3 against Southern Maryland. High Point is, while Gastonia's got their games against Staten Island, Point is playing Southern Maryland, which is a much tougher matchup. And I mean, High Point, I think, is 500 against Southern Maryland this year. So that's going to be a battle, at least 500 in the last 6 against them. I think they swept them early in the year when they were still really hot.
But to be fair, Staten Island also has been feeling their oats lately. They beat up a little bit on Long Island. Not too much, but they did what they normally do to them.
Southern Maryland?
No, Staten Island against Long Island this past week.
Right, you're right. Yeah. But they also got punked 14-1.
Well, that's going to happen. There's still Staten Island, and they're still playing a team with 13 major leaguers on their roster.
Cool. And then moving past that, I mean, Gastonia gets done with High Point, and they head to Charleston, and High Point goes to York. Or they go home, but York's playing them. So,
well, to be fair, York has like 4 straight losses. They have not been playing good baseball lately, and they were shut out by Charleston.
Yeah, I know. I'd still rather play Charleston than York, though, man.
Fair. Yeah. But I mean, let me put into this case here.
Especially Gastonia's offense against Charleston's offense.
But if it comes down to one game where for York, it's whoever that is not named Nick Riquette. Anyone that's not named Nick Riquette is on the mound. For a game against Charleston where it's Rachansky on the mound, which would you rather play in that case?
No, you're right. You're right.
Because we know the answer to that question. And honestly, frankly, I know people don't do the trades in indie ball because it doesn't really matter as much. And also, guys really hate having to move when they don't need to move. But man, would I like to see Danny go to a team that's contending.
Yeah.
Like, imagine adding him to, like, High Point.
Yeah. Man, High Point and Gastonia have the 2 best, by runs scored at least, but the 2 best offenses and 2 best pitching staffs.
I know. Like, that's why this was a no-brainer for Series of the Week.
I mean, 12.5 games up on Lexington. What?
Well, I mean, to be fair, Lexington was nearly 500 a week ago.
That's also true, yeah.
Then it went south. Then it went south real quick, but yeah. In any case, for the sake of brevity here, I'm just going to run through the teams that are hot, teams that are not. You have any comments on any of them? Say something. Hot teams: Missoula, Lincoln, New Jersey, High Point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Any comments?
I mean, I was going to throw out the Missoula fun fact that I tweeted earlier.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, the graph.
Oh yeah, man! You all can head over to the Indie Ball Nation Instagram or Twitter account. I tweeted out the run differential per game for Missoula is 4.7 right now, which is 2.3 runs better than anyone else in the league. It's absolutely insane. So they're winning on an average game. They're going to outscore you by 4.7 runs.
Well, they've scored 72 runs in their last 6 games too.
It's offensive what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, 21-6, right?
21-6 and
lone team with single-digit losses left in the Pioneer.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to pull one thing here. There it is. Okay, and when we're looking at it, oh no, boy, what a disaster. Okay, yeah, I mean Idaho Falls pitching is not good, so that makes sense. They went off like that, but
still. Man,
it's just, they're killing. They're just beating you. But that really was, though, like a lambs to slaughter situation. I mean, because Idaho Falls does have the worst run differential, too. And then they came in, and Missoula just ran them up. They won each game by a touchdown. Like, that's insane.
So then I got to know, why haven't you ranked Missoula?
Because I love Missoula. I think they're far and away the best Pioneer League team. I think that they would get pumped by every Frontier League team that isn't the Empire State.
So you hate Missoula. I understood.
I don't. I love Missoula. I might be going there on vacation. That's under wraps, but keep an eye out, Pioneer League.
I just want friend of the show, Michael Schlatt, who's also the manager of the Missoula Paddleheads, to know I voted for you guys. Ryan hates you and didn't vote for you.
I didn't. I
will be voting for you again, by the way, too.
I know you will. I know.
They're going to be in the 10 slot until they manage to mess up significantly. And I don't think they're going to do that because they're Missoula.
Oh, man, I don't know. I'm trying to think what would have to happen for me to like rank them. That's all I'm trying to think right now.
They go on a 10-game heater. They go 13 straight.
I mean, I've got them. Okay. I mean, I got them closer than I thought. I got them 16.
Man, you got them far down there. You're disrespecting the mid-majors.
Yeah, maybe, but yeah. I mean, look, dude, I saw TCU in that championship game. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, the Big 12 is a mid-major. Deal with it. It's just, I don't know, man.
Look, I'll put it like this. Charleston College, or the College of Charleston, got ranked 25th in the AP poll this year.
Yeah, well, doesn't mean they should have.
But they were there. There.
I missed their game against Bama. How'd that go?
Well, I'm saying basketball.
They not play them? Got
it. Play Bama. I'd be concerned if like a NEC conference, or I probably got the conference wrong because in the same conference as Hofstra, and I know someone from Hofstra that's not going to be happy if I got the conference wrong, but we're going to call it the NEC because it's mid-major and it's all the same. So, their mid-major got ranked because they scored a couple of wins and they scared the hell out of UNC. Now, granted, UNC is, well, them almost losing to a mid-major is hilarious, but still, point remains.
I'll say I do have a hot team in the Pioneer, though. Billings, man.
Billings.
Getting with it. Billings started like real off. I'm trying to pull what their original record was, but
the Billy Horton-led Billings.
They have an offense that just is not doing it, which is so funny. But their pitching is really good. So it's like it's a weird setup.
How does your offense not work in the Pecos League?
Pioneer League, how dare you?
Pioneer, Pecos, they both start with P and then go to a vowel.
Well, the guy's got Krampatel who's got 2.17. He's in the rotation. He's gross. And then, I'm trying to figure out what their record was to start. I remember they had a really bad start, and I was like, this team might never do anything at all. And because they weren't scoring too, so you're like, what the hell are we doing here? Yeah, that's right. They hopped out in 2 wins against Missoula and then ripped 1, 2, 3 losses, a win, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe it's like 10 losses, something like that. Yeah. But since then, man, they're back to 12 and 15. They're 1 and 8 on the road, which is something to write home about maybe. But not a good bus trip team, but 11 and 7 at home, and they're 8 and 2 in the last 10. So I like Billings, man. They're making a run. Chasing down Ogden, who's being led by Dan Kubiak of multiple indie leagues, if I recall. I know
Charleston Dirty Bird and Washington Wild Thing.
Hey, someone maybe sign him. He's been gross. 13 Ks in 9 innings. I know it's only 9 innings, but 9 appearances and a 0 ERA for Ogden. So, no runs over 9 1/3 in the Pioneer League. Maybe think about it.
So are Lincoln's 2 losses since the 9th of June meaningful, or are they non-meaningful?
I would say that's pretty good. Getting after it.
Yeah, but did you see the teams they beat?
Yeah, I know.
Sioux Falls.
You can only beat the teams you're playing, but I'm also like...
Counterpoint, that's the same argument I make for ranking Missoula.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I don't actually vote that way.
So there we go.
Yeah, I mean... Winnipeg wins barely count. Sorry, Winnipeg.
Yeah, they're on the cold list, by the way. Cold list is Winnipeg, York, Lexington, for those keeping track at home.
Yeah, that's fair. Sioux City, I mean, that's an alright win.
I mean, they've been so-so.
Lake Country's been good, by the way. I've been impressed with Lake Country. They've shown up lately.
All that it takes was getting a new manager.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's so weird, man.
Just middle of the year, Jim Bennett piecing out, taking half the coaching staff with them.
Middle of the year, middle of the first week of the year.
Please, they played 13 games.
Have they played 13 games already?
They played about 13, yeah. And then he pieced out because then they went on a heater where they won 2 of 5, and that's a heater for Lake Country. And then they slowly started to figure it out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting setup out there.
Yeah. Winnipeg's not doing good, though.
Yeah. That's pretty much on that one.
Yeah. They got 2 wins in their last 10, 5 wins on the month of June, 4-game losing streak during the month of June, 7 3+ run losses. So, not their best work.
I'm going to fess up to something. Lake Country have won 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11. That's not as high as I thought. If I'm honest, I've caught 3 Lake Country games in the past week and a half, and they won all of them. So it probably skewed my mentality.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Lake Country's towards the bottom of the division. They're not playing.
It's also I'm comparing it to that start they had, where they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 13. They started 4-13. You know what I mean? So that's also kind of in my brain, I think.
Yeah.
Because since then, they're 11-8. So hey, boys are after it.
Yeah. All right. We already mentioned Lexington and York at some point, as well as High Point. So only team left on this list that we haven't really mentioned, New Jersey. Can I just say I'm disappointed that they lost that 1 game to Windy City, so that way we didn't have a 17-game win streak at the moment.
Yeah, and I have a point on that too, because I did notice that was not the A team out there for Jersey.
Yeah.
All right, I know it loses a little bit of weight when you look at the Empire State situation, but who scheduled them to go Windy City on the road and then home the next day with the only Monday game in the league?
Well,
that's respectful.
The problem is having Windy City there. The Jackals wanted a Juneteenth game. That's why they played that Monday.
Yeah, you're right.
They did that to themselves by wanting that game.
That
you're right. Being said,
a day game to night game, but still, man, that's a tough one. And
that's what I was about to say. That said, they should have had a closer game than Chicago.
And here's the other one where I don't know if this was the thought process, but here's the other thing. I assume they wanted the starters out there for Juneteenth because they marketed that game a lot.
Yeah.
I just feel like the option is, beside the catcher position, have your starters tough it out one more game with Windy City, and then you can give them some rest playing Empire State. But I think I would assume because they were trying to put a spotlight game, that's where you end up in a situation.
Which was that the game that we had the discussion about the attendance number?
Yes, it is.
Oh, the game where we counted 109 people in the stands from the social media video, and they recorded an attendance of 520 is what they said?
Yeah, I was going to say, benefit of the doubt, I'd probably say maybe 250.
Yeah, I think I called it 320 at first, and then I was like, yeah, that's close to 220. Because I just don't see that many more people showing up after the 4th inning.
Yeah. And then there was the broadcaster getting into it with the Flow Sports people, which is what.
Why? Because he was giving him shit for saying the team's built around. I'll give him credit. I'll give Reed this. I agree with what he said about the kind of diss towards PJ.
100%.
Because PJ's a good manager. He knows what he's doing, and that's part of the reason he built the team to be able to hit in a hitter's ballpark, saying, hey, we're not going to be able to pitch here. No one is. We're not going to prioritize pitching. We're going to get the biggest hitters we can and just win games with offense. And it's working. But to then be annoyed saying the offense is carrying them to wins when undoubtedly the offense is carrying them to wins isn't quite fair. Again, not saying there aren't good pitchers on the Jackals, but they're not the centerpiece.
So I do think pointing out the pitching has gotten better, man.
Yeah.
This is not the mess that it was. If you look at that win streak, it started with a 20-0 win on Florence, which is hilarious because if you remember, Florence dunked 2 football scores on them in a row, and then Jersey back and put 20 up and shut them out. Hilarious, so weird. Indie ball's so weird. But then they held Washington to 6 runs in 2 games. They held Trois-Rivières to an average 4 runs a game, and then they went to Gateway, held them to 13 runs in 3 games, which is that offense was crazy. They held Windy City to an average of 4 runs a game. The Grays, take it for what you will, but they swept that series, held them to 1 run, 3 runs, 2 runs, 8 runs. So the pitching is better, man. Which is funny to say because boy was it a situation.
It's still not good.
No, it's not.
So,
but it's at least not. it isn't. I would say it's not like for the league. It's not like one of those things where you're like, whoa, what the hell are we doing over there?
Fair. I'll give you that, but like still, I'm not sure how much credit I'm tossing their way on that front there. But
I agree. Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the team matches up with Sussex County.
True. Which don't they have the Boulders this weekend, and then they go to I think Lake Erie and then Tri-City?
With the Boulders, then Lake Erie comes in and Tri-City comes in. They got 9-10 straight home, and then they got the weird home and home series with Sussex County.
Oh yeah, for 4th of July, where they split the dates.
Gonna be a banger. How about that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12 straight for the Jackals at home. Not bad.
Right, and Lake Erie's a home series?
Must be a gap between high school sports. Bring.
Good burn, but
Lake Erie, yes.
Lake Erie got screwed, man. They got to come out east 3 times.
Yes, I mean knock it all out at once, maybe.
Because they did Sussex County in I want to say end of May, beginning of June. Then last weekend they did Tri-City and the Boulders. Then they went home, and now they got to come back out for the Jackals.
Okay, yeah, I get it because they're West Division, but like, all right, boo-hoo, you're like Eastern Ohio. Like, I don't know.
I'm just saying that's kind of screwing them over. They got to come out do the same thing for like 3 out of the 4 weeks of the month.
I'm guessing there's a sort of a pro and con going on there where, they are sort of the central team, so that limits their max travel distance, which is nice. And they're not doing the gateway to, New York travel, but at the same time, they probably just get tapped to do more back and forth road trips than other teams.
Well, fair enough.
I would think that. I mean, I know that's kind of how it's supposed to work with the Atlantic League, with those teams are kind of in the middle. But yeah, I mean, what is it? Home. Yeah, home, and then Tri-City, New York, home again. Schaumburg. At least it's like, no, I see what you're talking about. Yeah. The home away home, that is kind of weird because if it's in groups of 6 games, that's not the end of the world. I mean, that's what they're doing with Cleveland, that makes sense. Yeah, I would. I will not say it's not a tough back and forth to go home for them to New Jersey to home. Then back home. No, then it's back home.
Like I feel like it would have just made more sense just to knock out at the very least 2 or 3 of them at a time, right? Like do Sussex and New Jersey as one, and then do New York and Tri-City as one.
I agree.
Like, it just seems
I agree. Sense. I'm not saying that this is a good schedule. I'm just saying. I guess I'm saying it could be worse.
I mean, everything could be worse, but
me, the classic optimist.
Regardless, just a quick side note before we get to the final 2 segments of this show, because we do have 2 segments left to get to.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know, really. Luckily, the quick segments, so that's good news. But just the aside note is I'm looking forward to seeing Windy City come to town as well as Gateway. So, looking forward to it.
I'm trying to get to a couple of these games. I haven't been to a bunch of games yet, which is a pain, but my schedule's freeing up a little bit, so I'm hoping to start rattling those off now.
Yeah, I think it's Gateway, I think, is the Sussex County one I'm doing, and then the Windy City I'm doing for New York, I think, is how this works out.
There you go. Yeah. We'll chat about it.
Yeah, we definitely will. But final 2 segments, Crystal Ball. Gastonia or High Point holds a multi-game lead in the South Division at week's end. That's the first one of the predictions.
I don't think so. It's a multi-game, meaning more than one. That's it.
Yeah, 1.5 or more.
I don't think so.
See, I was right. I was 1 for 3 last week, but the only one getting right was that the Jackals would be in first place at the week's end.
I think High Point wins this series, but I don't think they sweep Gastonia, and then I think Gastonia might pull a sweep after that, and I think High Point probably wins the series, and Gastonia gets their game back that way.
I'm just talking that when we get to Thursday the 29th, one of these teams is going to be a game and a half up, and I could see that being. I don't know which one it is. I just think one of them's going to.
Yeah, well, also, aren't they at the same number of games? So here's the thing, too. Like, I don't know. I don't think they will be, but that's where I'm at. That's where I would have said, sticking to it.
All right, fair enough. But I like to ante up with each one of these. The next one is kind of like the mid-tier one. And I got to be honest, I'm not sure if I have full confidence in this one. I'm not sure. But I'm going to throw it out there because I don't know why. But I think we're going to have at least another 5 signings for Major League Baseball contracts this upcoming week. I think there's going to be 5 in the next week, going from the 24th to the 29th. I think 5 guys are getting signed to MLB orgs, I should say.
I'll go further on that. I'll go, 5, and I think 3 of them will be Pioneer.
3 even the Pioneer.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of teams are using Pioneer for multiple reasons, as a lot of ways to sort of fill out those minor leagues as they start to sort of grind through here, getting into mid-season and start having holes to fill line. So they're pulling some of their guys up and you need Pioneer League guys to start filling.
The only qualm I have with that is solely when is the draft?
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's the thing I think hurts the Pioneer League guys, is that they have a very exclusive and limited window to get signed.
July 9. So you got 2 weeks. Well, just about 2 weeks.
I feel like they're kind of running out of road there because once the draft happens, they're just going to focus on the draft picks.
But I think it'll take a little bit of time to get them in there. And the draft picks, a lot of them are certainly rookie league. So if you need a A to high A filler, I think Pioneer might be able to fill it in. Also,
you might just go Frontier for that.
Yeah, maybe right.
Pick a younger guy that's in the American or the Atlantic League.
Honestly, one of those spots has to be Solomon Bates at this point.
He should be.
Good
I don't know
God.
what more he has to do.
What are we doing here? 11.3 Ks for 9. That alley this week was
fire.
I thought that felt like the one that grabs the attention. I was like, come on now. Someone has to. Sign him, man. 39 hits in 50 innings is hilarious. That's so good.
Yeah. But the last one I got for the week. One or more teams ends the week with an 8+ game win streak. There are several 4+ win streaks now. There are some of these teams that have weaker schedules. I think it could be done. I don't know if it will be, but I'm going to throw it out there. That's going to be my one. I like to say that there could be an 8+ game win streak.
Okay, I'm going to need 1 second to see who's close. High Point has the chance to do it. I don't think High Point will do it because that requires a Gastonia sweep. And then by the end of the week, to have that streak still alive, then you sweep again.
Yeah.
So no. Hey, in the American Association, what do we got? We've got, no, I don't want to see one division. What are we doing point streak? Okay. It would have to be Lincoln. No, it could be Fargo as well.
Just keep in mind, there's going to probably be 5 to 6 games played this week over there. So anyone with 2 or more game win streak.
Yeah, I'm not even looking at 2 teams in that league, though. Lincoln. Oh, God, where's Lincoln going? Now this is turning into a whole thing. Man, you started this. This is a much bigger headache. Wish I knew this one was
That's
coming.
why I didn't list teams specifically.
Schedule jumping. All right. Lincoln. Who they got? Sioux Falls. Winnipeg. Yeah, Lincoln will be on it. Got it. Lincoln's going to rack up a wild win streak. They've been playing well. They've been beating bad teams. They got bad teams on schedule.
I told you.
That's a hot take. Lincoln extends, I think, to at least 11 games.
Yeah. New Jersey, we went over 2. All you got, if you get past the Boulders, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. Who they have after the Boulders again?
Lake Erie.
I just saw it.
Crushers.
Ooh, I think they do drop one of those.
I mean, they could, but at the same time, though, how much better is Lake Erie to Windy City?
I know, but they did drop one to Windy City.
And they weren't playing their starters, though.
I know.
And they're going to have some rest this weekend.
Yeah, you're right. No, Jesus.
I mean, the only thing is that last game of the series, that last Wednesday game, that's concerning.
I think there's a shot because they're at home and they're built for that place. I think they might. Yeah, I think you're on that one.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Well, yeah. I forgot about the home one. Plus, then they're just going up to Albany. That's only like a 2.5 hour ride, so you don't really have to worry about resting anybody.
Fargo, by the way, Sioux City, and then Cleburne. They have 2 wins now.
They could take advantage of that.
Yeah, they might be able. I don't know if they're going to be able to get off the bus and just swipe one off Cleburne like that, but they do have an off day.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, there's teams out there that can do it.
This is more interesting than I thought. I was like, God, what are you talking about, man? Game win streaks are hard. I'm like, ooh, well, hold on.
Exactly. See, I told you. It's one of those ones where at first it's like, oh, that's a blaring hot take. But then the more you look at it, like, oh.
And the hot teams are playing a lot of down teams right now, too.
That was the 2 points I had written down here. Several 4+ game win streaks, and then there's weak schedules on top of that.
All right, here's mine. How many do you think Missoula will take this week?
Who are they playing?
I'm pulling that right now. We got...
I need who they're playing and where.
Yeah, hold on. I've got it for you. Let me see. There we go. All right. They've got 3 against Idaho Falls again.
Okay, so they should beat them
won
for 3.
all those by 7 games, and then 3 at Great Falls. Mm-hmm.
I could really see a 5-1 week.
I know, dude. I know.
I hesitate to say a clean sweep because 6-0 is tough. But Missoula's built different. They're a good team. They really are a good team. There's a reason they managed to break through the glass ceiling of Pioneer League teams.
So here's what I'll say. So far, they've played Great Falls 6 times and won 5. And they have played Idaho Falls just these past 3 games, and they won them all by a touchdown.
And where was the Great Falls series again?
At Great Falls.
Okay, at Great Falls.
But I have a sneaking suspicion that might not matter much.
I don't think it will. I just want to know for bus travel.
Great Falls. 5-5 at home, 3-12 on the road, so it does matter.
I mean, really, at that point, 2-win difference doesn't really.
I mean, who's to say?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna go 5-1. I'm gonna go 5-1.
Yeah.
It feels like the safe way. I kind of want to say 6-0 because I could really see it, but like I just feel 5-1. I think they drop 1 in there somewhere.
Also, getting guys signed, and that just means like anytime you're getting guys signed, it could cause a hole somewhere, even for a day. I don't know.
Yeah. So, any case, that's the crystal ball for you. Going to some props real quick. Last week, the under hit for both of them. I took the over on both of them, so good thing we don't put money down over here because it would be a tough scene. This week, we got some fun ones. I mentioned earlier we're going to mention New Jersey home runs again. Here's where it is. New Jersey hits 11.5 home runs. Over.
Over. No, over. For sure.
All right. They average 1.5, about 1.8 home runs a game.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm trying to look like... home
or away, it doesn't matter with the Boulders. They'll hit home runs.
It does not matter much.
It really comes down to that Tri-City end of the week.
Yeah. Let me see. They got first. They got 2 into the Boulders. The Boulders give up some homers. That's for sure.
Yeah. Plus the porches don't help much either.
Lake Erie and Tri-City. Tri-City's middle of the road. Lake Erie doesn't give up many home runs. Shoot. Actually, it's, again, tougher than I think.
Yeah, see, I'm good at
Lake
these.
Erie's bottom 4 in the league when it comes to home runs allowed, but that's also because they play in that weird ballpark. Then by that, it's a location thing, in my opinion. But, and they're good. I'm sorry. That was kind of shady to Lake Erie. No, they have a good pitching staff. I shouldn't have said that.
Disrespecting Jared Lemieux and the boys.
Honestly, man, they're good. 8.2 hits per 9 out of them. It's nice. Oh, shoot.
Over under.
I know. So this is what, 6 total games?
Believe so.
Right? Okay.
We're going until Thursday. Thursday's the last day on it.
6. Yeah, so it's 6 total games. Well, they average 2. Damn, dude. But in the end, it is... I'm still... while the numbers don't necessarily bear it out, I still just believe they're going to hit them in that ballpark.
See, I'm in the same boat because the problem is I picked too good of a number. Because one more home run, you take the under all day. One less, you take the over.
Yeah, you're right there.
I feel like we can't have under hit on both of them again for both weeks. I'll take the over because I saw Lake Erie give up a home run to a dude hitting 176.
Yeah.
You don't give up home runs to 176 hitters. So...
Now, I might have a wrench coming here, though.
Yeah.
Check math here. Oops. All right, one more time. All right. 4 games, they average less than 2 home runs a game against Empire State.
Fair.
I know, including 3 in the last 2 games. Which is not... And they scored 23 runs. I mean, they're finding ways to score. That's for sure. But you figure they had more pitches that hit than usual. Oh, no. I might be convincing myself under. And I'm going to feel so stupid. No, it's over. I'm going over. Lock it in. Over.
Locked it over. Okay, so we're both going over. All right. The other one for the week, Long Island. We're going to have some fun with this because we always mention that they just find ways to sign major leaguers. They have 13 on their roster, mind you. They have more major leaguers than they have non-major leaguers. So,
I mean, they had a whole lineup of major leaguers the other night. I think first time they did that.
Yeah, it certainly was. So, Long Island signs 2.5 guys of major league experience this week. Over under.
I'm going to say under.
See, that's you want to say under because it would make sense. Like they're not going to sign 3 former major league guys this week.
Here's my logic. I'm going under because I don't think there's there's 3 layers to this. I'm going to rip through them real quick.
Yeah.
Layer 1 says I don't think there's many spots that they can continue to fill with major league talent. It would basically have to be pitchers because other guys with more major league experience are not going to sign up with an Atlantic League team where they're not guaranteed the playing time. On the flip side of that, I also think they are got to be pushing it on budget. On the flip side of that, I don't suspect that, and I'll just say it now because I ain't in the league. I don't suspect for a second that Long Island plays the budget game normally and straight up. I say what I want. I might get a DM about that that's pissed off, but I'm just going to say it. That's one of the teams in this league where I'm like, fascinating.
So that what you're saying is it's a Barbosa team where the rules are more or less guidelines and rules.
I'm saying that it's on the Atlantic League to enforce it, and the Atlantic League doesn't enforce rules the same way. To be
fair, the Atlantic League is Frank Bolton, and Frank Bolton is the Long Island Ducks. So
Frank Bolton really wants a championship, I'd figure, at this point.
I mean, he just got one like 3 years ago.
Hey, man, it's been a rough 3 years.
They missed the postseason last year. You don't understand the struggle.
Bro, and then they did not like that Lexington team that beat them, too, so they were already pissed.
God. And then didn't they lose to Pete the one year? I'm not sure it was the year right before the pandemic or the year before that. But I know they lost to Pete either 18 or 19.
Lost to Pete.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In Sugarland.
I think it was 18. Yeah, I think it was 18.
Yeah. Because I remember that. Because 19 Pete got suspended. And he got pissed about that.
Classic.
I should have asked him about that.
God.
But
what a shame.
Was it glorious? It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. I'm going to take the over on it. We're going over on both of them. Why? Because Long Island does Long Island things. They find guys to sign. I won't be shocked if I wake up tomorrow and I see a Michael Pfaff tweet where like, we've sold the contract of like Ruben Tejada to the Angels and like one other random dude. Just like, I don't know, like Joe DiCarlo to like the Neat Palm Ham Fighters, and we've wound up signing like, I don't even know, some random bass. We signed Yasiel Puig or something like that. I wouldn't be shocked.
And that's part of it is it does take a couple days to get those contract purchases to like sort of come together. And that gives them, that's why like you'll see them do one of those and they'll have right away their next guy up.
Yeah.
And I think they do a good job of like knowing like, okay, something's coming, and like they are really talented at tapping into their connections, find the right people. So yeah, I think that's part of it. I think, if they do have signings, really that's the question, are they going to have 2 signings? Because if they have 2 signings, what would you say, 2.5? Bro, I don't think they signed major leaguers.
That's the thing. 3 is the number. At 1.5, this would have been interesting, wouldn't have?
Yep. Yeah, at 1.5, I think it's close. I still would probably take the under, though.
See, it's Long Island, though. That's the thing. I hate counting them out. Especially it's Long Island going into the second half.
Yeah, and
they're currently still in a fight here. They're 1 game back of a struggling York team and a Southern Maryland team that they're sus as hell.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Like that's blood in the water for Long Island.
Almost like, is it more likely that I don't know. Going into and this would be the week to do it. I don't know. No, I still don't think so, man. It's so hard.
I'm trying to talk you into this.
No, I'm not going for it. I'm not going for it at 2.5, and I'm still not going for it at 1.5.
What if an arm goes down? Arm goes down, they're going to go out and get another arm.
But arm goes down, they're going to need a couple of days to find the other arm. It's not like a player signing, like a contract purchase, where they already got one in the works, maybe.
True, but let's say the arm goes down this weekend. They'll have him by Wednesday.
I'm not betting on this. I've been in one of those front offices. I'm very confident. 2.5, I think, is way high. I think way high is dramatic. I think I would almost bet they could sign 1, which is still ridiculous.
When they sign 3 of them, I'm tagging you in the announcement.
That's fine. Either way, I will say, and I'm critical of Long Island when I'm critical of Long Island, but at the same time, I'll also tell you, I think they have the best, signing a player pipeline infrastructure of any team.
Oh yeah, they're
it's ridiculous, and which isn't a bold take. I get that they have 13 major leaguers, but boy, it just need to be acknowledged.
Oh yeah, I mean they're good at what they do. They've done it for so long that's all I got. That's all the segments. That's everything. Last week it took 48 minutes. This week it took an extra hour. But that's to be expected. And the content's better, so it's okay.
I think we were more focused.
Absolutely. And, we worked out the tech issues, and really we found out the issue is the phone.
Yeah. And the more important thing is, it's you.
It's always me.
Oh, God.
Just for that, I'm going to go explore the Titanic.
Fair. That's,
I need a Mad Catz controller.
Business industry there. There's an open market.
Yeah, right. But, all right, so I think we'll just close it out here. I think that's a good place to close it out.
Works for me, man.
Drop plugs real quick so that way we can get out of here.
Oh, Indie Ball Nation on YouTube, which I will be posting the part of the previous podcast I did on here. That was on the cutting room floor, and then strapped back together by you so kindly. Yep. That'll be on there. I'll go with it tonight or tomorrow. I don't know. I'll kind of feel it out just how it seems like the best time to drop it. But yeah, that's all ready to rock. So that'll be fun and a disaster if you just listen to this and you're like, I need more.
Hell, I'll probably toss you the last 10 minutes of this.
Yeah, right?
It'll fit right in.
Indie Ball Nation on Twitter and on Instagram, man. That's fire it out there and you'll find it.
Yeah. Here, Rip. Indie Ball Pod, Twitter, Indie Ball Report, everywhere else, pretty much. IndieBallReport.com. Got show notes and stuff. Go there. Check it out. Done these plugs like 200 plus times, so y'all know by now. So, rate, review, subscribe. You know the deal. So, until next time, don't forget to play ball.
Play ball.